Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Phil Arno. In the past on this program, we've talked a lot about the Eastern Hills Mall. As with most malls in this country, Eastern Hills has fallen on hard times. It's not closed, and it's not planning on closing. But the future of the mall is a question mark for many in Western New York. Mountain Development Corporation, based in New Jersey, has owned the mall for many years. Whether or not they could have done a better job of management, it's not a question we're going to tackle today. But a very prominent and well-respected Buffalo firm has stepped up and purchased a significant ownership interest in the property and has created a new energy and optimism surrounding Eastern Hills. Uniland is one of Buffalo's premier development companies. There are many Uniland properties and projects around Western New York, and the company is clearly part of the continuing revitalization of our local economy. Recently, I sat down with Carl Montante Jr., Vice President of Uniland, and Marc Bruffett from the Gensler architectural firm to discuss the current situation at the mall and what we can expect going forward. Okay, well, you know what? We'll get right into it. First question, Carl, what got Uniland interested in the Eastern Hills Mall?
I've been, my parents started out on the west side, and when I was 2, we moved to Clarence. So I spent a lot of time in the mall growing up. And as time went on and I got into the real estate industry, the fundamental rule of real estate is location, location, location. And as it relates to locations, you can't do much better than the Eastern Hills Mall. Transit Road in between Main Street and Sheridan in terms of location, it's got the best demographic profile in the region. I've tracked its history somewhat and noted that it wasn't doing as well as when I was growing up and visited the mall on a regular basis. And I had occasion to meet the owners of the mall at the time, Mountain Development Corporation, and struck up a friendship with the general manager there, Chuck Breidenbach. And Chuck and I started talking about the possibilities of redeveloping the mall probably about 2 years ago, and then just kind of kept in touch and exchanged ideas and got to the point where they felt comfortable pulling the trigger on doing something definitive on repositioning the mall to a new life where it could thrive again. So that's when they invited us.
And the trend for malls overall now has been moving away. Socially, it's not the experience it used to be. Mm-hmm. And so moving away and designing something new from an architectural mm-hmm. point of view, from a social point of view, what challenges does that present, commercially? I mean, your plans for the future had to be well thought out. Where does this go? And how do we turn this around, with considering where malls are going? How did you come up with a plan?
The real challenge right now for a mall like Eastern Hills is that the ground is shifting beneath our very feet. The sort of forces at play that are reshaping what people expect of malls aren't sort of settled yet. So we have sort of left an era where people used to use the mall not just as a sort of shopping hub, but as a social hub. And they're sort of moving away from that. But there's a sort of diverse set of expectations and experiences. So one of the things that's a challenge from a design standpoint is to really understand the various sort of stakeholders and sort of community participants who are here, who want to use the mall in different ways. That could be across varying generations, from baby boomers down to millennials and everything in between and beyond. And they've got very different sets of expectations. So, part of what we've done is we've held a series of focus groups, 4 focus groups, to really talk to local area residents to find out what do they want from their sort of experience living in Western New York. Where are they sort of satisfied with retail shopping today and dissatisfied? So part of our task is to touch base with all these various groups, understand what's changing about their expectations, and then formulate a sort of concept that puts together a new idea, a new destination. In this case, it's going to be a walkable town center, mixed-use community, and we're excited for that.
When we asked individuals, where do they like to go and hang out on a regular basis? They really couldn't speak to one particular place. There are areas around the region that are very nice and are fun to visit, but there's really not one place where people constantly go back to and that really has a good sense of community where they see their neighbors on a regular basis. So we think that's an opportunity that we can capture where you can live there, you can visit there, you can shop there, you can be entertained, you can go out to dinner at a dozen different restaurants. There'll be large areas for events where people can just get together and socialize, listen to music. So we're trying to create a new experience here in the region that we really can't point to any other place that has, already built what we're envisioning. And we've toured a number of different projects, mixed-use projects around the country, and we took a best practices approach.
That's right.
We walked the streets, did a lot of measuring, and we talked about what seems to be working well, what doesn't work well. And our hope is that we're going to take what we learned and apply it to this mixed-use walkable community and hopefully develop the next generation town center.
Yeah.
I guess the common thread that you may have discovered through all of your planning is that you have to come up with something that the internet can't compete with.
That's right.
You have to have something that is unique to the social experience, whether it's entertainment, business, living, etc. And Buffalo is such a unique area because of the weather and because of the social, upbringing everybody experiences, the kind of grassroots, mentality. I like to say when Mother Nature tries to kill you 2 or 3 times a year, and, you develop a certain character. That all goes into the planning stages.
That's right.
How much of a split is it going to be between recreation and business and living? How did that come into the equation?
Yeah, for us, it may come down to a single word, which is community. As we talk to the people who live here in Western New York, who shop here, who have gone to school here, who are raising families, we ask them what they sort of are prideful about, and they always say they're so proud to be a Buffalonian or from Western New York, and they start talking quickly about family. And they are looking for an enriching experience where they can get together with family and to be a part of a community. And you can't do that on the internet. So we think if we focus on the placemaking that enables and sort of sustains and enriches people to come together and experience that community, we think that that's a sort of recipe for success. In terms of how much is what particular use, we're very close to sort of dialing in how much of each particular use is there. We don't have the precise figures yet, but more likely than not, there's going to be a rich combination of some residential uses, perhaps some senior living, quite likely some sort of medical use, perhaps a medical office building, definitely some entertainment, some retail, some cultural. And so we're looking right now at what those specific divisions are, and they're not pinned down yet. But what we are very confident of is that when someone is here, they're going to leave with an indelible impression. To Carl's earlier point, We don't think that there is a mixed-use community anywhere that is a perfect model for what will be sort of built here. We think that there's a number of unique factors, and it's going to be a special place.
Well, kind of being an original it presents some opportunities because you're making it up as you go and you can be creative. It also is a challenge because you're making it up as you go.
Yeah, yes.
And you have to get it right.
Yeah.
Hopefully you build in some flexibility so
That's
that
right.
going forward you can explore what's successful and you can adapt. The timing of this whole thing, what do you foresee as the schedule in introducing this?
We are in the concept planning phase now, and we expect to finish that part of the process sometime this fall. And once that's done, we'll immediately transition into the design of phase 1 of the development. In terms of phases for the overall project, we're probably looking at 5 plus or minus. But you're right, Phil, in that we have to be adaptable to market conditions. We'll, at the end of this concept phase, we'll have a certain ratio of different uses. But 3 years from now, we may find that one particular use is doing a lot better than the other. So Mark and his team at Gensler are building in enough flexibility in our plan so that we can adapt the concept plan and adjust to make sure it fits within the market dynamics.
I want to go on record as saying that I suggested 5 years ago they build a water park in the back.
Oh, is that right?
I think that would have been a home run because,
Yeah.
after all, in winter, where does everybody want to go?
Yeah.
They want to go swimming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
true.
And in summer, if it's got open, areas,
Yeah.
it's still good. Anyway, I digress.
In winter, by the way, when we talked to the community residents, the sort of consistent message we heard about winter is we're hardy. We want to be out in the winter. We want something to bring us out and sort of allow us to engage in community and social events. So, our team at Gensler feels like we are sort of solving for winter in many ways. We don't want this to be a sort of 3-season sort of community, but really a year-round destination for residents and office workers and tourists and visitors. And, solving for winter is not easy in Buffalo,
It's a
but,
necessity in Buffalo.
you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think that is one of our biggest opportunities because there are a lot of families in Buffalo who unfortunately don't do a whole lot in the winter, and couples too. It's just they tend to have cabin fever because they're stuck inside so much. But if we're able to offer some activities and attractions and events, both indoors and outdoors, to pull them out of their house and give them something to do in the winter, I don't think there are many other options out there except maybe going to see a movie, but that's not social.
Yeah.
You don't tend to see your neighbors that much in the winter, and we hope to change that.